Last week I received an anonymous letter, and I don't mind saying I was very disturbed by it.
Obviously, you've all heard of the tragic news of Sonia's death. She was found dead this morning in the archives room in circumstances which seem to indicate that she committed suicide, though clearly there will have to be an inquest.
Do you believe a building can be infused with evil? Hello?
Listen, Esme, the reason you haven't had a date is because we haven't yet agreed to publish.
I beg your pardon.
There are matters to discuss and resolve.
You had no right. I'm editorial director of this firm.
Oh, no.
You can't run an efficient publishing house from a Venetian palace on the Thames.
Innocent House is sold over my dead body. Is that clear enough for you?
You haven't told me about your letter. What it said.
It said I was going to die in the tunnel.
For God's sake, get rid of that bloody snake. It makes the place look like a nursery.
This is exactly how it was when I left last night.
This is Detective Inspector Miskin. Would you show me, please? Who was it who found your brother?
I did. Blackie, that's Miss Blackett, his secretary, and Miss Peveril were with me.
Well, perhaps you could show me. Oh, I wonder if the rest of you could wait in here. I'll join you as soon as I can. It's warm in here. I know how hard it is for you, but if you can bear it, I'd like you to confirm that the room and your brother's body are exactly as they were when you first came in.
Nothing has changed.
Did you touch his body?
I touched his face with my fingers.
In the room?
Nothing has changed since I found him. But there is something odd. The room looks cleaner, tidier than I remember it.
Has this window cord always been broken?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Is that the end, under the table there?
I'm sorry. I appreciated how difficult this must be. You're capable.
I am perfectly capable of walking downstairs by myself.
Why don't you go home like all the others?
What, I miss all the excitement? You're the one who should go home. Look at you.
He'll want to interview me, the commander, as Mr. Gerard's personal assistant.
Personal punch bag, more like.
Ah, Daniel.
Sorry, sir. Heavy traffic on Commercial Road.
Suspicious death on your first morning, eh? Doesn't happen every day, does it, Kate? Right, the usual thorough search, a gas engineer to look at the fire and the flue. That's most urgent. I also want to get forensic to look at the window cord, check whether it wore out or whether it was cut.
Sir.
Oh, Daniel, see what you make of the job, will you? Careful of the snake.
Well, rigor mortis is well established in the upper body. The jaw is free.
Which means? I'll need a list of the staff and a plan of the building, if you have one. Who holds keys to the building?
All of the partners have a set, and Mrs. Demery at reception has a key to the main door and the burglar alarm system.
And does she arrive first?
Normally, yes. But when she got here this morning, she found that the security lock on the main door wasn't on. And the alarm was switched off as well. So she assumed that one of us was in early.
Who was the last person to see Mr. Etienne?
I was. I was with him in his office before I left last night, about 6:15. He was still working. He usually works late on Thursdays.
Was that generally known? He seemed his usual self. Did he tell any one of you that he intended to work in the archive office?
As far as I know, he never visited there. I've no idea why he went up there or why he died there.
Why he was murdered, you mean?
James, please.
We can't be sure of the cause of death until after the post-mortem, Mr. DeWitt. Thank you. I'll be with you again shortly.
Word's out. The reptiles are here.
News is coming in of a suspicious death of a man in bizarre circumstances in East London. The police have not yet confirmed the dead man's identity, but it's believed to be Gerard Etienne, managing director of the Peveril Press. The body was found by staff arriving for work at the prestigious publishing firm first thing this morning.
Mr. Etienne took over the firm fairly recently. Would you say that he was well liked?
Well, he wouldn't have been carried out of here in a body bag if he'd been a little ray of sunshine, now would he, Commander?
So when you came in this morning, you noticed that this front door was unlocked.
That's right.
Well, it's unusual.
Oh, it happens from time to time. Sometimes one of the partners gets in early, you know, to think great thoughts.
Did you notice anything odd or different when you came inside?
No, not really. Well, a little thing is hardly worth mentioning.
What was that?
When I came in here this morning to hang up my coat, I noticed that the Hoover wasn't in its usual place. It usually sits right there in the corner of the cupboard. And I'm sure it was there yesterday.
Well?
Well, Blackie told me that the room was very clean. The cleaners weren't even in last night. I think someone else has been using the Hoover.
Well, I imagine Mrs. Demery is enjoying herself hugely. Her moment centre stage.
Well, I don't suppose she can tell them anything. On the other hand, we'd better take care.
Of what?
Telling them things they don't need to know, like we weren't exactly united about the future of the firm.
What does it matter what we say? None of us has anything to hide. I mean, it's obvious what happened. Gerard had some sort of an accident.
An accident? What sort of accident?
Well, I don't know, he could have had a heart attack or something.
With a toy snake stuffed in his mouth, get real.
It was just a suggestion.
Yeah, bloody stupid one.
Yeah, all right, Claudia, we know you're upset. We all are.
Oh, yes.
What did he die of then if it wasn't an accident?
Gas.
Gas.
Carbon monoxide poisoning. When I went in there, the room was very warm. Didn't it strike you, Claudia, that the room was warm?
Very little struck me except Gerard's body and that snake.
Francis, I'm sorry to say I don't think it was an accident.
Daisy? Daisy, can I have a word with you?
Come on, Daisy, we'll be late for school. Morning.
Mrs. Reed? Would you like me to pick Daisy up from school?
Oh, thanks very much, Mrs. Carlin.
These archives go back over 200 years. I take boxes out of here and go through them next door where it's a little more comfortable. The old Henry had a rule. He was so obsessed by confidentiality, he said this room was never to be cleaned. We haven't got round to changing old Henry's rule.
When you came up here this morning, did anything strike you about the room? Apart from the body, of course.
Yes, it seems strict, the room. So ordered. I mean, the cleaners never come up here.
Neat and tidy, you mean?
Yes. May I go in?
Yes, of course. Please don't touch anything.
I mean, look at the mantelpiece. It's spotless. And the floor. I think they've been vacuumed, you know.
Has this table always been here?
Yes.
It looks as though it's been moved. 5 or 6 inches to the right. You can tell by the mark on the wall.
Oh, yes.
Is there anything else?
The tape recorder I used to dictate notes isn't in its usual place. I keep it in the middle of the table.
Hmm. Do you ever use this file?
No. But I did notice how warm it was when I came in this morning.
Was the room unlocked when you left?
Oh, yes, I never locked the door.
This looks comparatively new.
Yes, Henry Peveril had it fitted a few years ago. I don't know exactly why. He was a solitary chap. He liked to work up here from time to time, going through old papers, I think.
I've had enough of this. I'm going to go and do some work.
I'm frightened, James. It started, isn't it?
What?
All these letters saying that we were going to die. Now one of us has.
Don't be scared. No one's going to harm you.
I loved him. I should be thinking about him, praying for him.
He wasn't worthy of you. It's true. When I saw how unhappy he made you, how he played with you, it made me so angry.
It's done with now.
If you need me, I'm here.
You're a good man, James. Bless you.
It's so strange to be sitting here in Gerard's room, discussing his death.
I'd like to offer you my condolences. I only met your brother the once, but I know how respected he was in the publishing business.
Yes, few people liked him, but most respected him.
Did you like him?
Yes, I did. We weren't very close. Ours wasn't that kind of family. We were brought up in boarding schools. But I liked him. I was on his side.
Were there people who weren't?
I should think there will be some people who won't be sorry to hear that he's dead. Every death benefits someone.
Who will benefit from this one?
Me. I'm Gerard's heir. I inherit everything, including the shares in the firm. That would have all changed upon his marriage, of course.
I see.
Is that what all policemen say, Commander, when they hear something significant?
No. It's just a small linguistic tool to keep the conversation flowing.
So, now you've established motive, you'll be anxious to hear about opportunity. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I was with a friend all of last night.
Friend?
My lover, Declan Cartwright, came here and we went out in the firm's launch. It was a lovely evening, so we went down to the Thames Barrier and stopped off for dinner in Greenwich.
What time did you get back?
About 10:30. The light was still on in here, but I had no reason to come up. Gerard often worked late. So I drove Declan home to Westbourne Grove. He lives above an antique shop that he manages. I stayed there until about 2 o'clock and then went back to my flat in the Barbican.
I see. That's all for the time being, thank you.
I have to go up to Essex now and break the news to my father.
Would you mention that I'll want to talk to him myself?
He won't like that. He lives as a virtual recluse. He won't even answer the phone. He broods about the past, always has.
I have a lodger. His name's Rupert Farlow. He's a writer. I was with him for most of the evening. I left here on the 5:30 launch and went for a drink in Covent Garden.
Did you meet someone?
No, I was on my own. I had some books to buy. I was back in Hillgate Village just after 8. Didn't go out again.
What did you think of Gerard Etienne?
Did you know he was a mountaineer? Oh, yes, it was a passion of his for a while. He trained, got himself fit, and went off and climbed a mountain, the Matterhorn.
Very impressive.
Not at all. Would have fixed ropes right to the top of the summit. For a real mountaineer, it's a Sunday afternoon jaunt, but for Gerard Etienne, it was the climb of the century. Says it all.
You didn't like him?
He was hard to like. He could be very cruel. And he was an angry man. But what I suppose you had to understand was that he was mostly angry with himself.
Thank you.
When you want to talk to Rupert to check my story, ring and make sure it's convenient. He's very ill and some days are better than others. It's all around us, isn't it? Death.
Daisy! Daisy!
Hello, Auntie Esme.
Let's go and buy some ice cream for tea. Then I want you to do me a very special favour.
Commander, I'm sorry.
There's no need to apologize.
I didn't think this would still be here.
Clothes summon up the dead more powerfully than anything else, don't they? We should have taken it away.
It smells of him. Has his shape.
You were fond of him?
I was in love with him. We had an affair, but it ended a week before he got engaged.
By mutual consent?
No.
Are you happy to go on? We could leave it till later.
No, I'm fine.
So, where were you last night?
Well, I was at home all evening, apart from a short walk along the riverside path towards Greenwich before I went to bed. I didn't see anybody or talk to anybody, apart from Gerard. I rang him before I went out. It must have been about 7:20. I knew he'd be working late, and I wanted to talk to him about his plan to sell the house. When I got through to him, he said he'd have to call me back. He had a visitor with him.
Visitor? Is that what he said?
Yes, interesting word, isn't it? He didn't call me back.
So apart from your walk, you stayed in until I brought Mr. Dauncey home?
After you'd left, he explained what had happened and said he wanted to have a bath. I went up to his flat when he'd finished.
How long was it before you joined him?
Well, it can't have been long. I suppose about 8 to 10 minutes.
No more than that?
Well, maybe a little shorter. No, 8 minutes would be about right. Why? You don't think... You can't believe Gabriel came back here and killed Gerard?
Mr. Etienne was dead long before midnight. What we're considering is the possibility that the snake was stuffed in his mouth some hours later.
But Gabriel would never have done that. I mean, anyway, he wouldn't have been able to do it in the time. He's old. I mean, he'd just been mugged. Besides, he was in the bath.
Are you sure of that?
My flat is directly below his. I can hear it when his water runs away. Last night, I was listening out for it. A few moments later, he rang and said he was ready. When he answered the door, he was in his dressing gown and his hair was still wet. He couldn't have done it. He wouldn't have done it.
This is a very old fire. Nursery fires, I think they were called.
The detachable tap. The fire hasn't been serviced for years. And you don't need to be an engineer to see what's happened. The flue's completely blocked.
Yes, but it could have fallen naturally.
Yeah, or been deliberately dislodged.
Possibly. So what you're saying is the familiar story, old fire block, flue, carbon monoxide poisoning?
It's not quite all, sir. Before the engineer took the fire off the wall, I had to look at the screws holding it in place. You know, old brass screws, dulled by the years they've been in that wall. But you look at the groove and the scratches round about. The metal gleams like new. I reckon somebody's turned those screws and had that fire off the wall very recently.
Yes.
Another scoop.
Thank you.
You're a good girl, aren't you, Daisy?
What do you want me to do for you, Auntie?
Daisy, in the next few days, a policeman is going to come here to talk to you. He's going to ask you questions about last evening. He's going to ask if you spent it here with me.
I didn't.
I know that. I want you to tell him that you did.
Why?
Because the man who published my books has been murdered. And I think the police think that I did it. Because I'm a crime writer and I know all about murders. And I didn't like him very much. Do you see?
Did you hate him?
Yes, I rather think I did.
Did you kill him?
No, I didn't.
All right.
Alibis that need checking. Claudia Etienne, James DeWitt and Gabriel Dauncey.
Dauncey? Can't have been him. He was with you.
Yes, I know, but I'm intrigued about the business with the bath.
Do you think he could have done it then, sir?
You don't?
What? Come over here and back in 8 minutes, a bloke in his 70s.
Walk it through tomorrow after you've checked the alibis, will you?
Okay.
What about Frances Peveril, sir? After all, she has no alibi, and she had just been dumped by Etienne. That would give her the clearest motive.
Apart from Etienne's sister, who's just become very rich.
No, it's too early to talk about suspects. The killer could be any one of them. Let's just get on with the legwork, shall we? I thought the building had been cleared. Wait here. Miss Blackett?
Oh.
I'm sorry to have startled you.
Commander.
I thought everybody had gone home.
You said you wanted to interview me. I've been waiting.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. It's been a hectic day. Would you excuse me a moment? It's Miss Blackwood. I'm just going to have a few words with her. I'll catch her up at the mortuary.
Sir.
Against the bridal day, which is not long, sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song.
I don't think Spencer ever saw the river at Wapping.
I thought we ought to talk.
What about?
I saw you letting yourself into Innocent House last night.
I see.
Went to see Gerard?
Yes.
Why?
Well, the decision he'd taken about Esme Carling's book. It wasn't his business.
Is that all?
No, I'd had enough of the way he treated Frances. What he said to her yesterday was just unforgivable.
So what did he say?
I lost my nerve. If you'd watched for a little longer, you'd have seen me come out again. Didn't get any further than reception. I realized I'd never get him to change his ways, probably just make things worse.
You were right there.
But I'm glad he's dead. If I had some kind of faith, I'd go down on my knees and thank God he's dead. But I didn't kill him, Gabriel.
No, I don't believe you did. Night, James.
Mandy Price saw me putting Hissing Sid in the drawer, and Miss Claudia before she followed Mr. Gerard into his office. Mr. Dauncey was there as well.
How long did you work for Mr. Peveril?
27 years. I came here the week after I left school.
It must have been hard adjusting to life without him.
I worked very closely with Mr. Henry. He confided in me. The door between our rooms was always open. That's what Hissing Sid was mostly used for, to prop it open.
And when he died?
I had to adapt.
Were you successful?
Not wholly. I wasn't the only one. Esme Carling, for instance. Not one of our easiest authors. She could be very nasty. You must have heard about the scene she created here yesterday.
No marks on the neck. Take a look. On the roof of the mouth. A distinct scratch. Post-mortem by the look of it.
Have you told me? Thank you.
It looks as if something sharp-edged was forced in or out of the mouth after death. By the look of the scratch, I'd say out. Difficult to be 100% sure, but it looks like the direction of the scratch is from the back of the palate to the top teeth. No doubt it was after death. Etienne himself may have put it in, whatever it was, but someone else certainly took it out.
With some force and in a hurry. How much strength would it take to open the jaw after rigor had established?
Fairly easy. Easier still if the mouth was open and he could get his fingers inside and find some leverage. Child couldn't do it. Presumably you're not looking for a child.
Any idea, Doc, what kind of object it was?
Well, there are no other marks, which suggests it wasn't too difficult to fit.
Something small and sharp-edged.
Key. Bunch of keys.
Or a cassette. From a tape recorder.
Dauncey's machine.
Assume it was the tape, just for the sake of argument.
Gerard knew he was going to die. He's trapped, carbon monoxide filling the room, the door locked, gas tap missing, a window he can't open.
And he puts a tape in his mouth. Why on earth would he do that?
The only explanation that makes any kind of sense to me is that he was trying to hide it
Hide it?
from his killer.
But the murderer did find it. He came back for it and eventually found it. But he had to force the door open to get it out. So he used the snake to cover it up.
Yeah, but what about the tape? And why did Gerard hide it? Why did the killer look for it? I mean, what was on the bloody thing?
Daniel, back to Innocent House. Okay, let's assume the murderer lured Etienne into the room. Fire was already on.
With a gas tap key removed so he couldn't turn it off.
Yeah, and don't forget the table. Yeah, I mean, that'd be moved. What if it and the chair had been taken out so that Etienne couldn't use it to climb out of the window?
Then the murderer left, locking the door behind him or her. When he came back some hours later, he found the tape in Etienne's mouth.
The obvious conclusion is that Etienne dictated the name of the killer onto the tape. And he would have had time. He wouldn't have died at once.
The murderer was too careful for that. Everything had been cleared from the room that would have allowed Etienne to leave a message. Papers, pencils, the lot. Even the floor was clean, so he couldn't scrawl a name in the dust.
Yes, but why did he leave the tape recorder?
What if it was the other way around?
What do you mean?
The murderer prepared a tape to play to Etienne as he was dying.
Exactly.
That would explain why Etienne tried to hide the tape. The murderer must have had an uncomfortable few minutes until he found it.
Yes, but why? Why leave the message?
To gloat. Show how clever he is.
Or perhaps to explain to Etienne why he had to die.
Well, if that's the reason, then the motive for the murder may not be obvious.
How does our leader take it if you ask for a bit of time off in the middle of a murder investigation?
What do you think? What's it for?
My brother's wedding next week.
You the best man, then?
No.
Registry office.
Oh, must be joking. No, the full Monty. Synagogue, reception, cabaret, relatives flying in.
Where from?
Israel, America, all over the bloody place.
How long have your family lived here?
Mother's family came over at the turn of the century, I think. Not really sure.
What about your father's?
Grandparents brought him and my uncle over just before the war from Poland. Got out just in time. Most of the family didn't survive.
I'm sorry.
Dad doesn't talk about it. A long time ago, wasn't it? Yep, this is the house.
Monsieur Etienne, I should like to offer my sympathy for your loss.
Oh, please spare me your condolences. They can hardly be sincere. You didn't know my son.
He died needlessly and young. I am sorry.
Well, I know why you had to come, but I can't help you. I have no idea why Gerard died.
I believe your son was murdered.
Well, if he was, and frankly, I find it hard to believe. I hope you'll bring his killer to justice, however inadequate the justice may be. If you find me unhelpful, it's because I have no help to give.
Did he visit you regularly?
Once a month. He would intrude on my privacy to recount all the tedious goings-on of the press. Evidently, he needed my approval for the changes he was making. I couldn't give it. What did I know? Or care?
Well, do you think your son had enemies?
Well, no doubt he had rivals. Discontented authors, colleagues who resented him. But I can think of no one who'd wish to destroy him.
Well, perhaps something in his past, or yours, that could have caused resentment.
My past?
You fought in the war, in the resistance.
The enemies of France were once my enemies. I fought them the only way I could. The answer lies in the present, not in the past, Commander.
It's about Thursday evening.
I thought it might be.
We've spoken to Mr. DeWitt.
James never lies. It's one of the things about him I find most tiresome.
How long have you lived here?
4.5 months. He took me in when I could bear the hospice no more. We're not lovers, by the way. James is depressingly heterosexual. He loves the tedious Peveril woman.
Perhaps you could tell us what happened on Thursday evening.
Depressingly straightforward. James got back at his usual time, about 6:30. We chatted. Then he made some supper at about 9. I fell asleep at about 10. He did various messy things for me when I woke up in the middle of the night, so he was around then. Have I said something significant?
Mr. DeWitt told us he didn't get home until after 8.
Oh. Oh, dear. Just trying to help a friend.
We got back to Innocent House about 10:30, tied the launch up. Claudia drove me home, and as I expect she told you, she stayed there till 2 o'clock.
Will the shop owner, Mr. Simon, is it be able to confirm that?
Well, the old darling's getting very deaf, but his room is just across the hall from mine, so he may have heard various noises.
Have you worked here long?
I've been manager here for 2 years. I run the place. Mr. Simon, well, he's very frail.
How did you meet Miss Etienne?
What is this, blind date? We were on a tube train that got stuck in a tunnel. We were sitting together. She got edgy. I made her laugh.
So you and Miss Etienne were together the whole evening from about 6:30 till 2 in the morning?
That's right, Sergeant.
Inspector.
How much do you think that alibi is worth?
About as much as the one Rupert Fowler's given DeWitt.
At least we know that Claudia and her toy boy were at Innocent House. They could have killed him before they set out, inserted the snake when he came back.
And they had a clear motive. All that money.
What on earth does an intelligent woman like that see in a man like him?
Come on, Kate. Since when did intelligence have anything to do with sex?
It does for me. It turns me on.
I do best to pretty obliging women who aren't very bright.
Maybe one day you should live dangerously and find someone with more than a GCSE in domestic science. Hello?
Kate?
Ah, hello, sir.
You know the woman who committed suicide at Innocent House?
Yes, sir. Sonia Clements.
Mm-hmm. I want to go and see her sister. She's a nun, lives in a convent near Brighton. I'll pick you up at Wapping at 2.
I presume this is not some experiment in Archimedean physics, eh?
No, sir. Excuse me. All right, Robbins, let go. You're a dead man, not a pit bull.
Welcome to the House of Fun.
Let Robbins out in 10 minutes, will you?
Okay, sir.
Was Gerard Etienne murdered, Commander? Is that why you're here?
It's a possibility. We're investigating anything that happened in Innocent House in recent months that might have a bearing on his death. Your sister's suicide amongst them. There are some people there who believe Gerard Etienne drove her to it.
Yes.
If he did, then a friend, a particular friend, might have wished him harm.
I was Sonia's particular friend. She had no others. And I was here on the night he died.
I'm not suggesting that you had
Gerard Etienne had nothing to do with Sonia's death. She died because the two people that she cared for most, probably the only two people she ever cared for, left her and left her for good.
Who were they?
I took my vows the week before she died. And of course Henry Peveril had died.
Are you saying she was in love with him?
She was his mistress. She called it love. I don't know what he called it. They were never seen together at his insistence. The room where she died was the room where they made love twice a week.
Did you know Henry Peveril yourself?
I knew them all. I'm a book restorer, you see. Or was before I came here. I did some work from time to time in the Peveril Press Library. In fact, at one stage, Jean-Philippe Etienne wanted me to catalogue the archives, but Henry soon put a stop to that.
Why?
I would have been put to work in that room. His love nest. I don't think he liked the idea of that. Come to that, neither did I. That house. I never liked going there. Now I'm glad to think that I need never return.
Is this him?
Yes. Remember what I told you?
I'm intrigued by what a sister said about the archives. Henry Peveril's refusal to let her catalogue.
He didn't want her around.
Maybe it was something else. He used to work up there. There could be something in the archives he didn't want disturbed.
How would that be relevant to Etienne's death?
I don't know. But I think we should take a look.
When I got there, they told me the signing was cancelled. Gave me this. As you can see, it's on Peveril Press notepaper. But they sent it after I was on my way.
So, somebody sent this on Thursday morning saying you were ill and couldn't come?
Probably Gerard Etienne. He was, I'm sorry to say, a most unpleasant man.
And the day before, he told you that he wasn't going to publish your latest book.
Yes, I tried to see him on Thursday morning, but I couldn't get past that Blackhead woman. Anyway, I had my sign to get to in Southampton. I didn't know then it was cancelled.
So, what happened when you got back from Southampton?
I came back here, worked for a while, read, went to bed about midnight.
Did you see anybody or talk to anybody during the evening?
Daisy. My neighbour's a single parent. She works most evenings. Daisy, her daughter, comes in here. She reads, we talk. She has a bite to eat. Nice little girl. Daisy! Daisy! This is Detective Inspector Aaron. He wants to ask you a few questions. Oh, excuse me, I'll leave you to it. Daisy, darling?
Hello, Daisy.
Hello.
I was wondering you'd phone. Yes, I think that would be sensible. Tomorrow evening? About 6? I'll be there. Bye.
Hey. Right, let's leave it for today. Meet here tomorrow, 7 a.m. Okay?
Copper plate writing in dust. I need a drink.
That's the best idea you've had all day.
There we go.
Cheers.
Cheers. You worked with John Massingham, didn't you? What do you think of him?
He was a good detective, but not as good as he thought he was.
You know, he once called me a clever little Jew boy. Admittedly, not to my face. Oh, no, he'd never do that. But I don't think it was meant as a compliment. The only time I do feel Jewish is when I go home. My family. When are you going to bring a nice Jewish girl home? When are you going to get married?
And when are you?
Last one moved out a couple of weeks ago. Went to live in the States. I kind of miss her.
It's when you get home, isn't it? And it's late and dark, and you shut the door behind you and stop and listen, and there's nothing. Nobody there.
Kate.
No, Daniel. I like you. But
I like you, but...
it wouldn't work.
You're the one who told me to try an intelligent woman for a change.
Yeah, but I didn't plan on being part of the experiment.
Daisy, dear, be all right. I'll be back about 8.
Okay.
Cheerio.
Innocent house.
See you then. Bye.